moving on the Kohberger train. We are recording this on August 19th, Friday, August 19th, which means there was a Kohberger court hearing today. Now, the audio was horrible. It was horrendous. The live stream was disgustingly bad. I could barely hear a thing, okay? So I'm still covering this because there was some important information I gathered, but I'm understanding, I just understand that I don't know the full scope of the proceedings because of how bad the audio quality was. There were so many times I was like, gosh, I really want to know what they said right there. But the audio's so bad, I just can't tell. I cannot tell.
If we record it, I can audio enhance.
Well, we can, but also there was a lot of news in there with their cell phones texting what was being said as it was being said.
Oh, so live updates, yeah.
I have a little bit, of
I saw that on Reddit.
A little bit, but I just wanted to talk about the tension in that courtroom today.
Really?
It was
I haven't watched it yet, you guys.
Tense. Okay, I have seen everybody be cool, calm, and collected and respectful to each other till today.
Really?
Yeah.
And we felt that in the documents. That's funny because there was a couple times where we were on live stream and we were like, I feel like the way they're talking to each other is starting to change here.
Yep.
Like, people are getting fed up.
Yes.
But then what's funny is you hear lawyers on YouTube judging it, and they're like, oh, everything seems normal. I can tell the way they're using the words and how they're saying it and describing what's going on has changed.
Yeah,
so
they put things in there that didn't need to be put in there.
No.
And the way they were wording it, it just sounded very tense. It just sounded like there was a lot of frustration going on. And we fully saw that realized today in court. So what this court hearing was about, okay, from the state was the motion for protective order, motion to reconsider the order staying the time for a speedy trial, state's motion for a scheduling order, which is basically because the trial is coming up in October, they are wanting a schedule for witness lists, exhibit lists, expert reports, depositions, all of these lists that they need to have by that time. They want a deadline for it, essentially.
Yep.
And
that's fair.
This is all from the state. This is what their documents were that were being covered. And also motion to compel notice of defense alibi. Now, for the defense, it was the third motion to compel, which involved the IgG DNA.
Yeah.
And the affidavits that support that DNA. The second motion to stay proceedings, where they're requesting more time to investigate the grand jury
indictment
issues.
Yep.
And then motion to dismiss the indictment because of the error with the grand jury, basically, that they were talking about. So, I have notes. I took notes throughout what I saw.
Yeah.
And let me say, the witnesses and the people in there that are talking about DNA, that stuff goes right over my head. I don't understand any of it. But there were important things in there that I feel like I can pull out and talk about. So I wanted to talk about... So they had, from what I saw, they had this guy, which I had the witnesses wrote down. So yeah, it was Vika Barlow, Steve Mercer, which is a BA in the DNA world. He is a defense attorney who has studied DNA extensively. He was involved in some case. He explains it in the court proceedings, how he got into it and all of his credentials and how, he's very involved in it.
Yeah.
Very much. In the creation of it seems like the way it's changing court now with this touch DNA. He's super involved in it. So, testimony from him, Gabriela Vargas, and also I think Leah Larkin was there. Now, so they're all there to talk about the DNA and why it's important that the defense gets all of the relevant information, how this DNA was processed, how it was obtained, every detail. And I feel like Steve Mercer's testimony was the most important, in my opinion, because he talks about why it's important, and he makes a statement here saying that the knife sheath DNA was tested twice, and the defense should know the details of this testing so they can challenge it if necessary. Minimum practice standard is that an attorney must obtain discovery of scientific testing, particularly in a capital case regarding trace DNA. It's crucial to get that discovery because it informs the scope of testing and which experts to hire on defense side to evaluate what's done. So basically, they don't know what experts to hire. They don't know how to refute this evidence. They don't know what to do with it if they don't have it. They can't build a defense. They can't hire the right experts to refute it if they don't know what it is.
Yeah, and remember, too, one of the things that we talked about, you guys, on one of our recent videos is how they do the essentially online sleuthing through Google to make connections in these profile DNA trees.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So he said...
Human error.
I know, it's kind of ridiculous. So he said, so for the defense side to evaluate what was done, without discovery of the testing database, searches and family tree build, the tree build out, the attorney can't investigate it. Thus, the attorney's not complying with their duty to investigate in a capital case. We need this to determine what experts we need.
Yeah.
So he's basically saying... Ann Taylor can't do her job as a defense attorney. She's not doing her duty if the state doesn't give her this information. And he goes through a lot of information about DNA and all the relevant stuff that I don't understand. But this is all because the state is straight. The motion for protective order that I mentioned, that was the first one I mentioned on the states. They are absolutely refusing, saying this is not relevant information, that we will not give it to the defense. We don't want it given to the defense, and they want it protected. They want that information protected and to never come out.
What?
That's what it is. They don't want to give it to Ann Taylor. So at the beginning of this, let's back up to the way this started today, okay? The energy in the courtroom. The judge begins, okay? They all sit down, and I think Kohberger, looked over and smiled or something like that. I feel like he does that almost intentionally. But the judge begins by announcing that, what they're covering, and that they're going to have some witness testimony from the defense. So he names all those motions, and then the witnesses. So... it's the woman on the prosecuting side. I can't figure out her name because the audio's so bad. I don't even know what her name is. But it sounded like Bodie or something, or Beatty. Okay. She has it's her. I think her first name's Ingrid. But she interrupts and says that she has some housekeeping matters. Basically she's objecting to the witnesses. And she said it's improper to have these lawyers on this, this defense lawyers testify on this case, and that they're being ambushed with Vargas, the other witness, because they have no way to vet her at all. And that they just received the documents on her yesterday, and they have no time to do anything. And they also said that Ann Taylor is a reputable, has a really good... I'm paraphrasing, she has a legacy, she's a good lawyer, she has good reputation. So anything that these expert witnesses can testify to, she can consult them and then tell us. She can come in and testify that herself and argue that herself. We don't need the expert witnesses. She can talk to them on her own time and then come in here and argue those points.
What?
Yeah. It felt so shady to me that the judge is okay, Ann, get your witnesses. And she's I have an objection. None of these witnesses can testify today is basically what she said. None of them. Not a single one, but I think she was okay with Leah Larkin.
Oh.
And Ann responds, and she's like, they just traveled from like far away, and we're just gonna like turn them away, you know? Like,
well, that's not even what's important.
But she
Anne
brings that
isn't
up.
the expert.
She brought that up, but she also explained why their testimony is important. Like
Well, also because it's important to show that experts have the back of the defense. Otherwise, they wouldn't be coming in there because they have questions and concerns too. And it's important to know if Bryan's the guy, great. Like, string him up. I don't care. But let's figure out if he's the guy.
Yeah, I feel like that was just so shady. And the judge, I think, responded appropriately. He was like, sorry, hold on, my throat. Okay, drink. The judge says it's a death penalty case. Okay? That it is relevant, and that later on, like if there's an appeal or something, they need these expert testimonies for the record. Like, so I feel like he did a good job, and I think he sees what's going on. Like, because I saw him respond when there was tension, very calm, and like putting them in check at the same time.
So far, I think this judge has done a good job, you guys. Some people have talked major trash on this judge and said that, you know, he's been favoring the prosecution and everything.
I don't think so.
I don't think so because the judge, okay, if there's anyone in the world that's allowed to look at the defense, the person the defense is defending, and treat him as if he's guilty, it's the judge. The judge has to make the decision between the state and a potentially guilty party. It is not the judge's job to look at Bryan and treat him the same way that you would treat the state. Bryan's going to get less leeway than the state because his respect is being questioned, and there's no way around that. And the judge is the only one that's allowed to look at him in that way. Otherwise, everyone else is supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, in my opinion. But
yeah, I agree with you. But I think him bringing up, like, look, this is a death penalty case. Like,
yeah, that's...
we need all the experts, okay?
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was a bit ridiculous for her to be like, no, none of them can testify. This isn't proper. We're being ambushed. No, you weren't. They were not. They knew who was coming that day.
The prosecution's smart. I was on Reddit today, and so many people are saying, like, I can't believe these idiot prosecutors. No.
They're not idiots.
The reason why you're so mad at them is because they're doing a great job.
They are. They are doing a great job. So then Anne says, she starts bringing up some, like, concern. She's like, you know, we haven't received the DNA of the 3 unidentified males at the crime scene, and, you know, we want that. They still have not turned that over, and there's 2 men from inside and 1 from outside the house.
The glove, yep.
So the state then refutes that and says, it doesn't exist. It was never processed. That DNA was never processed. It doesn't exist. And they've given everything they have. There is 1 single outstanding lab report that they have not turned over relating to forensic examination by lab personnel at the crime scene, and they will get it to her. And they said they're hoping something is something. Oh, wait. This is what the main guy, Thompson, said. And I quote, they're hoping something is something else there. Oh, wait. I think I have a typo. They're hoping something else is there, basically, and it's not there.
So what did they do with that DNA? Are you telling me they just threw it in the trash can?
I don't know. He's saying it was never processed. So he's all angry, and he's like, they're hoping to find something here that isn't here, that doesn't exist. Okay. So Anne then said, what?
That's like asking everyone to say, look, tell me what this puzzle picture is with only the edge pieces.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
What do you mean? It's a crime scene and you don't process 3 males' DNA that were on the crime scene? You know what?
You know, if they would have processed that DNA and found, like, hey, these are 3 guys that actually have a proven connection with Bryan, I would feel like, well, okay, this is possible Bryan's involved then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because this doesn't seem like a one-person job. It seems like a multi-person job. So, did multiple people go in there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, it's kind of interesting that it's 3 others, and if Bryan were a part of it, that would make
It would be
4
4.
on 4.
I know.
That's kind of interesting.
It is.
And we saw 4 people running that night.
I know. I know.
It's interesting, to say the least. But, so, Anne then says they also don't have unexpected corrected action. So, like a disciplinary action. Log an unexpected results log from the Idaho State Police Forensic Lab from 6 months before and 6 months after the crime. They only got some of those corrective action logs and only some of the unexpected results logs, but not the full 6 months before and the full 6 months after. The state says they don't know what else to say. He's like, we don't know what else to say. They've been assured that they have it all. And he suggests, well, I can put in a supplemental inquiry, okay, to see if there's anything else I can get. And the judge was like, yeah, you should do that. He said there needs to be some level of trust in the courtroom, and like you can't get things that don't exist. Like I can't make him give you something that's not there, but there needs to be some level of trust here, which clearly there is none. Which I find it interesting that he's saying y'all don't trust each other.
Yeah.
You don't. And there's a reason for that, I think.
Yeah, but one good thing, too, and remember, you guys, when I'm playing devil's advocate here, it's not that I'm playing for Bryan to be innocent or guilty. It's just looking at both the prosecution and the defense separately and then judging. So one thing the prosecution is allowed to do, okay, is they have to give over everything that they have. So technically, the prosecution could go to the police and say, hey, I need all these documents from you. That's what the defense is asking for. Then the police give 50% of them to the prosecution, and then the prosecution takes those back and only give 50% over, and then the prosecution can then say, we gave you everything. Yep. Knowing without it being spoken that there is 50% more not being given to them. Like those are the lawyer games you can play, okay? That's going to end up looking bad on the police when the defense starts going ham on the police,
It's interesting you say that. So let me go through this and we'll talk about that a little bit more. So, the judge says there needs to be a level of trust and also talks about how, like, getting that stuff last minute, it's going to make this a very rushed because the trial's coming up. And he says make sure you double check and do the supplemental inquiry, and says she hasn't had assurances that she has received all electronic emails and text messages and other forms of messages, and I don't know what that's in reference to, but she's claiming she doesn't have, she hasn't been assured that she has all that information. And then Thompson gets angry, the prosecution, like this is the angriest I saw him get. He said, and this is, and I quote, like I'm quoting, I was sitting here transcribing it. He said, we have given them everything we know to exist. And there's like a blank point that I don't know what he said. At this point, all I'm hearing is speculation. They think maybe, or they wish something else is there. As far as we know, it doesn't exist. As far as we know, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I don't know what else we can say. We can't respond to something that isn't real. And he's like, sorry, Judge, because he was tripping. Like, he was like, he's literally pointing fingers at her and saying, you're speculating things are here that you don't know are here, and you're just assuming or hoping they're here. And he said, as far as we know.
Yeah, as far as we know.
So, the judge says, like, he responds very calmly. He's like, we're just trying to sort it out. Like, We're just trying. Super funny. I was totally laughing. He said there's times that things fall through the cracks or somebody forgets to do something. It's always healthy to make sure.
Yeah, make sure. Yeah, that's accountability 101. That someone needs to make sure you're doing the right thing, just like someone makes sure they are doing the right thing, and so on.
I just found that so interesting that he was like, make sure, dude. Like, make sure.
Yeah.
We're just trying to figure it out. Like, chill out.
I wonder what the judge believes.
I'm so curious. So that lawyer, brought that up when I was watching him talking about, because he couldn't watch it live because it wasn't out yet. We can't watch the Idaho court hearings until after they've happened.
Yep.
So
they
he
upload
was
after.
Watching live updates, reading documents and stuff, and he said there are totally times that people will forget about these police records, and sometimes on purpose, sometimes genuinely on accident. And he said that's why it's really important to be able to deposition people, to call a police up and say, do you have this?
Yep.
He said, but for some reason we're not seeing that here. He said, I don't know if it's Idaho state law that they can't deposition people. He said he hasn't looked it up yet. I genuinely don't know either. I'm not a lawyer, but I find that interesting that it is standard to deposition people, but that's not happening here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the state the state and the police could totally be getting away with that, and there's no way to find out.
There's no accountability.
That's insane.
I agree. I know.
So the police could have tons of other evidence linking somebody totally different, and we would never, ever know because the state says...
Because the police is allowed to say, we gave you everything, and they're holding back something. Yeah. I know. There's no oversight.
No, there isn't.
There's missing oversight here.
There is.
And again, it doesn't have to do with Bryan being innocent or Bryan being guilty. But when I see stuff like this, it makes me wonder how many cases have gone through the cracks where there's no oversight. Like, okay, that one, the doctor case where it looked like the police. It looked like the police set Dr. Moore up. What if that's not what it was? What if it's a lack of oversight and you just have two idiot cops that didn't have enough oversight to manage them correctly?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't read that way, but I'm just saying anything's plausible, right? Mm-hmm. It could just be a lack of oversight here.
Yeah, you know that the defense asked for that DNA discovery May 3rd, and it's been over 4 months?
Yeah.
That's why they're doing this hearing.
I know.
They're like, and the state's still trying to hold it back and put a protective order on it. That's crazy. That's insane. That's just crazy.
Yep.
So one more thing I want to bring up is when I was like looking at all this, I came across, because that lawyer, suggested Andrea Burkhart, and I went and watched a video where she read through one of the documents, and she said something that struck me. She said, you know how, like, it came out that the DNA on the knife sheath was only supposed to be used for probable cause, and that it wasn't ever supposed to be, like, brought up in court? They were like, look, we're not gonna bring this up in, like, court or the trial. It's not gonna be used as evidence. It's just probable cause. Mm-hmm. So she said that the only reason to do something like that is criminal activity, because that's the only thing that can invalidate a search warrant. Mm-hmm. Is them proving that. So
yep.
I was like, dude, that blew my mind. Like, I think we should...
Or it's touch DNA, and they understand the unreliability
They use
of touch
DNA in freaking court all the time now, from what I'm seeing. Mercer is talking about it in this. Like,
yes, with correlating...
It's the way...
with correlating evidence to just bring it home. There's a reason why most of the world doesn't use touch DNA. There's a reason why the military courts don't use touch DNA.
I agree with you. I just thought it was interesting that she was talking about that, and really the only reason to do something like that is to hide something.
I understand that. I get it. I hear it and everything. But after learning just how unreliable touch DNA is. If I was trying to land it home and I knew for a fact that I had all this other evidence, I might leave the touch DNA out too, because that is something that a defense can focus on and exploit.
I see what you're saying.
Most courts don't allow touch DNA in it, you guys.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But it was interesting. It was really tense. I feel like they're like going at each other's throats at this point.
I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah.
Because somebody was telling me the other day on comments, I haven't verified this, don't hate me if I'm wrong, but somebody in comments said that Ann Taylor has actually asked for an ex parte twice now. One for her to meet privately with the judge without the prosecution, and one for Bryan to meet privately with the judge without the prosecution.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So, one other thing is the judge did deny the motion to stay.
Okay.
To extend the time for them. And for them to look into the grand jury. I think the grand jury is not going to end up... I get why she's trying to go after it, but I don't think it would have ever worked, to be honest. Overturning the grand jury indictment.
Not with that evidence.
Yeah.
Not with that evidence.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that we're going to get a motion to stay. I do.
When? Because it didn't happen today.
I know it didn't happen today, but they're still waiting on evidence. They're still waiting on it. If Ann can bring up something proving that there is still information they're missing, like the DNA information, then they will get that motion to stay. It's going to be last minute.
I could see that. Oh, it's Ingrid Beatty. That's what it is. That's her name. The one with the little hair clip. That was like, I have some housekeeping to do.
Yeah. But yeah, that's interesting. I'm super curious how you guys felt about it. We'll probably watch this on
we'll
stream,
watch it on stream.
But I'm going to try downloading it and enhancing the audio.
Yeah, for sure.
Without it being too annoying.
But yeah, that's all I got right now. A lot of people and legal experts I haven't got to see actually like go through it and say what it all means because it came out so late. They were literally in court till 7 p.m. I haven't even seen all of it.
Yeah.
So, we'll cover it more, and we'll
absolutely
just join us on stream, and then you'll see us talk about it more.
Yeah, well, we're gonna keep following this case too. I assumed that we'll probably make a playlist and put all the Idaho 4 stuff in it because, again, with us being new, crime only focused, criminal thought only focused with the podcast. I'm sure there will be more cases like this in the future, but this just happens to be the first one that we're really digging into with each piece of evidence one by one, going through cell tower, going through car, what the prosecution claims is like the heavy hitter slam dunk stuff, the case hearings and all of that, and now you get 911 call and the court meeting,
hearing. But yep, we'll cover it more as we get more information. I mean, I'm not a legal expert, so I wish I was and could give more, but
yeah,
I'm learning as I go though. Like I'm starting to understand more than I did initially.
Court is just super logical once you court makes perfect sense to me in everything because you have to take the emotion out. You have to look at it like a sociopath would.
That's not even the problem for me. The problem is the language, the lawyer language. Like, I have to learn that.
Yeah. There's just certain areas where I can tell you don't pick up on it because, okay, you have to automatically assume everyone's lying in court, always, because everyone's going for what they want, and they're going to do whatever they take to get it without lying to each other. But everything else can be lied about except lying to each other. It's really a weird situation. But I don't know, that's kind of how sociopaths work, you know? They take advantage of all situations to benefit themselves. But yeah. Anyways.
That's it. That's a wrap. Thank you for watching. Rioters, I think is the new name, dubbed by the chat.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rioters, that's what they keep calling it.
Yes, rioters. Rioters. I like that. Yep. It
makes sense.
You can pull your thinking hat off now and put it away, and we'll go Thought Riot another day.
Yep.
No,
it's a Thought Riot every day.
It is a Thought Riot every day. I like thinking every day. You know, it's super funny.
I like thinking every day.
Really? Like deep thought, though. I've met a lot of people in my life that don't like obsessive thinking. Like, that's what I do to calm down. Like, if I'm having a really stressful day, I could literally sit in the dark with nothing on and just like go into my head. And that will calm me down. It'll mellow me out. But, you know, I really want to create a community where people feel comfortable like having alternate theories or opposing theories to what the general consensus is in our comments. But every time somebody has an opposing theory, they come off so harsh, over the top, like trying to be offensive. Like, come on, dude, that is not how you use your brain. If you want to give a realistic opposing theory, just be clear, open, honest, and explain why. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's scientific method. Explain your case. If it makes sense, I'll be on board always. So
yeah, I agree.